Hello, you beautiful bastards. I hope that you're having a nice day. Today, we will talk about a topic very close to my heart. Creepypastas. Creepypastas are a weird internet phenomenon, the foster child of urban legends and waifus that came to plague the early 2010s. It marked the childhood of a lot of people, including me. I used to spend hours reading or listening to that delicious slop like there was no tomorrow. But what are creepypastas? They are internet-based horror stories, the digitalized version of campfire spooky stories. No need to go to the woods to get scared by one of your mates when you believe that your dog might be sacrificed while you sleep, which is another story that we will cover soon. These stories are the subject of my new series Who is this creepypasta? Where we will remember the golden era of creepypastas, talk about their origins and the weird effects it had on people. Today, it's Small Dog's turn. Small Dog is one of the OGs. It was insanely popular at its time, and it all centers around a supposed cursed image that when you look at it, it haunts you in your sleep and in your dreams. This image has a lot of renditions, but first, let's quickly go through the story. Have in mind, this is a recap and it won't match the intended tone of the story. If you want to have the original reading experience, I suggest you to go into the Creepypasta Wikipedia and read the story yourself. I added a link to it in the description. It's only a 15-minute read. So now, the story. The story starts with our boy L, another internet basement dweller like us, talking about an encounter that they had with Mary E, a supposed victim of Small Dog. Basically, they had an interview because she saw an image in the internet. They were supposed to meet, but at the last minute, with Elle already inside Mary's house, Mary chickened out and locked herself in her bedroom. The only thing that Elle got out of that interview is a meltdown from Mary and the company of Terence, Mary's husband, who stood out like a sore thumb. After that unfruitful encounter, we learned that Mary saw Small Dog in 1992 and was one of the few dumb enough to comment about it online, leading her to be harassed by Elle about this tragic incident. Something like the early internet versions of Breaking Bad's annoying house visits.
So this is the Breaking Bad house?
No, it's not.
It looks great from here. It's not?
No.
Would you like a slice?
No.
Elle learned about Small Dog like we all did, being a kid, having unlimited internet access, and reading dumb shit in the internet. It all happened in 2005, and a couple of years later, it was still a topic of interest to him, even after going to college. What a loser, right? Being a grown-ass man still talking about creepypastas, instead of doing something productive with their life. Then we have a mention or a self-insert of the export of fortune, which is surprisingly common. If you look at the most popular creepypastas out there, most of them also came from the export. Elle goes on and on then about the effects of the curse. Something you go crazy, you have epilepsy. The idea is that you look at the picture and then it starts to haunt you in your dreams. This picture appears time and time again in people's nightmares, urging them to spread the word, which means showing the picture to other people in any way possible. A couple of months go by and Elle encounters an email from Mary, where she confesses that she actually had a copy of Small Dog and was planning to give it to Elle. But at the last moment, her moral compass just will not allow it. Then, briefly after sending this email, Mary unalived herself. After Travis informed Elle about Mary's passing, he also mentions finding a diskette with Small Dog in it. At least, that's what he says, because he mentions burning the diskette as soon as he found it without ever opening it. He mentions that when he burned the diskette, it started to hiss, something like and there was kind of like a growl or something in there. Then afterwards, our boy gets a random email with the picture in it. And what does he do? He looks at the picture, gets cursed, instantly fumbles under the pressure. And then he creates this creepypasta where he uses it as a way to spread the word. Then I guess some Reddit mods or something pull into his driveway and silence him. Because for some reason he seems to be the only one capable of actually sharing the story and the image at the moment. Because according to him, Wikipedia entries get deleted almost instantly after they are created. Now that we finished this story, what did you peeps think about it? I thought that it was pretty good. I think that it delivers the expected response, in the sense that it makes you feel as if you're about to look at something that's going to haunt you, at least until you actually get desensitized to this kind of stuff. The only illogical weird thing that I find, right, is that where did the diskette come from? Was it always in the house? For 15 years of Terence's and Mary's marriage? Shouldn't she have thrown that away? Or maybe she did, but it came back. And in that case, like, how has Terence never been able to see it? At this point, I'm more prone to believe that that diskette was actually like some kind of cheating mixtape, and the whole Small.dog was just a cover-up for it. But either way, I at least will not be able to handle the curiosity, and I will end up like looking at the picture or looking at the VHS. More than anything, having in mind the fact that my wife has suffered years and it ended up consuming her just for seeing that picture. And yeah, maybe it was hidden, but it wasn't hidden so well if Terence was able to find it right after her passing. Obviously, creepypastas are not known to be the most logical or cohesive stories, but wasting oxygen talking about them is still free, so I'll allow myself to do that. If you have any other gripes with the story, you can leave them in a comment below. Now let's talk about the actual origin of the creepypasta. Origin. There is actually a very old Know Your Meme entry regarding Small.dog. It states that the origin is actually unknown, but it's rumored to have come from the export in 4chan at some point in 2008. A year after its supposed appearance, a user by the name of Small.dog was the first one to publish it in the Urban Dictionary, a party site of dictionary.com that came in the early 2000s where people submit meme slang and other types of definitions. Later, in 2010, a couple of YouTube videos as well as the Creepypasta wiki entry were created. Now, everything revolves around a supposed cursed image, right? There are actually two major versions of that cursed image. The first one that appears in most retellings, it's the picture of a normal looking dog with perfect teeth looking at the camera. Honestly, it doesn't even look that cursed. I mean, the teeth kind of look human-like, but with how shitty the image quality is, I would have guessed it's just a normal looking dog smiling at the camera. And then yeah, there's the hand and the PO, but those are kind of like, I don't know, like weird glitches in the picture, let's say. But the dog itself, I mean, he seems fine for the most part. Now, the second photo, that's the one that creeped out little 12-year-old me. That actually looks like a cursed dog. It's basically a kind of like a skinned or inside out dog with a glaring smile that's actually like so freaky. It does go into the point that maybe it looks a little bit absurd, but to me at least it's the most impactful one of the two. Now imagine sleeping and seeing these two images in front of you. One is a normal looking husky that, yeah, maybe it's chasing you and maybe it's scary, but it doesn't look like anything out of the ordinary. But now imagine this Lovecraftian creature coming straight out of the Red Dead Redemption cover, chasing after you. But I guess, no matter the picture, the story still does most of the heavy lifting. Now, regarding the origin of the images, this is what I could find. Starting with the normal husky, using TinEye, I was able to find a Flickr link in June 2009. although I wasn't able to confirm that that was the first appearance, since the link no longer works anymore. In regards to Goated Dog, it appears first in a Russian forum in the same year. A forum or a blog post which seems to have nothing to do with Small.dog, and then later in the same year it's uploaded to the Encyclopedia Dramatica. Encyclopedia Dramatica being another parody site like Urban Dictionary, although one way more controversial. Talking about Goated Dog, its smile is actually used in another piece of horror media. It's the Smile of Cheshire, a GPG of a smile that's part of the fan game SCP-087B, a game about a specific entity of the SCCP Foundation, launched in 2012. At the end of the day, I'm not really sure which image came first. A lot of sources seem to point out to the normal husky being the original picture, but honestly I'm not really sure. There's also a supposedly original picture of Small.dog before it was edited. And well, this one has a weird face, but I don't see the resemblance, honestly. I think the shape and the ages, they all look very different to both pictures. At least different enough for me to not believe that it's actually the source material. One of the most interesting aspects, looking back at the creepypasta boom, is the people, the community surrounding these stories. From cringe-obsessed fans to paranormal enthusiasts believing creepypastas to be real, we have a myriad of things of interest to look into. Looking for the most interesting bits regarding Small.dog, I countered this blog page, the Ether Paranormal Team blog, which seems to be some kind of old paranormal hunting site way back in the day. The site doesn't exist anymore, but it can still be accessed through the Wayback Machine. In this page, there's a blog post made more than 15 years ago regarding Small.dog, where a researcher, Shad, talks about coming across it and researching its authenticity. Shad reports having felt some of the hypnotic paranormal effects of the story, namely the vivid nightmares and the image popping out in their head from time to time. Have in mind though that Shad already appeared to be suffering from nightmares in the past. Most interesting is the fact that after this initial post in 2009, a couple of entries mentioning a lot of hate email are posted. It seems some visitors of the site thought that Shad was trying to corrupt the youth by sharing this evil story. And how does Shad respond to this? In true American fashion, Shad invokes the freedom of speech right to silence all of the haters. Furthermore, one of the supposed victims of Small.dog that reached out to Shad claimed her fiancé unalived himself after becoming obsessed to the point of tattooing Small.dog in his body. The veracity of such a claim is hard to find believable and even harder to prove, but searching through Pinterest you can actually find people that have carved Small.dog into their body, alongside multiple other creepypastas. So who knows, maybe these people are part of the Small.dog cult or have fallen victim to the demon. Now, scattered across multiple websites, you can still find discussions regarding Small.dog even to this day. Here we have, for example, a Reddit post that was made 9 years ago, which has comments all the way to 2025. By the way, 9 years ago was 2017, so yeah, you might feel old now. In this Reddit post, Opie shares their experience as a kid, seeing the picture and having nightmares. Afterwards, seeing it in different places, kind of like an hallucination. And it doesn't seem to be the only case. There are multiple people on the comments talking about having similar experiences. In the Ether blog post, there were 320 comments. A lot of bots, trolls, and off-topic comments that had nothing to do with the topic. A lot of intellectuals and paranormal detectives trying to unravel the mystery by joining together. There's one person that decided to write some poetry, others saying that the FBI and the Civil Defense Center were on the lookout for another Small.dog outbreak, and even a person who claims to bear Small.dog's children. Why would people lie in the internet, right? Now, props where props are due. I think the story does a wonderful job on having the intended effect in those who find it disturbing or scary. In the same manner a self-fulfilling prophecy works, Small Dog pulls you in with the idea that you are going to have this image stuck in your head and in your nightmares. And that is exactly why it ends up having that effect. It's not that Small Dog is a haunted picture, but it's a compelling picture, and it sells you the idea that it's going to haunt you. Now for the end, I will leave you with the greatest piece of writing regarding Small Dog I could find. I hope that you enjoy. Lauren writes the 2 of August of 2010. When I came across this photo and looked upon the chill, loathsome eyes of the beast, I was drawn. He spoke to me. Soft hisses and growls reverberated within my ear canals. Despite the silence, except the quiet hum of my fan in the background, the emissions were heinous, devilish, revolting. It felt as if some force was burrowing, penetrating vehemently into my skull. I clawed desperately at my ears, forcing my palms roughly against to the point light suction was achieved, but that only made it louder. The beast had possessed my very form, and I felt him, I heard him, his cruel, sinister, lustful thoughts as he yearned to devour my form. That is when he had now taken physical form, as the putrid canid seen in the photograph. He licked his chops, dark green ooze snaking from his lips, but that is when I saw the sadness in his eyes. He had been trapped in this devilish form by humans. Humanity and the entirety of their beings, all believing that the spectre to be evil, turned him evil. He was reaching out through the photograph, accumulating in the humans' minds in hopes to set him free of the imprisonment he was placed so long ago. Captured in an image by an evil sorcerer, despite he being a noble spirit that once was a guardian to our race. I set him free. I loved him. The beast and I made love, and we are now due to be married in October. I'm pregnant, and our puppy's due date is early November. Truly a very inspiring story. And with that, we mark the end of the video, guys. I hope that you found it entertaining. This is my very first video, and it actually took me like 3 or 4 attempts to get a version that I liked. The thing is that I still don't know exactly what the format of the channel is going to be like. I know I want to talk about creepypastas and focus not in the scary or horror aspect, but just doing it in a poking a little bit of light-hearted fun at the way that we used to interact in the internet, at this bizarre ecosystem that existed at this point in time. If you have any constructive criticism or any feedback, please let it down in the comments. I hope to see you again, and this was Who is this creepypasta? With Sora. Smile, you know it's good for you. My face shall haunt your nightmares. Spread the word. Smile. When darkness falls, I shall come. Spread the word. My jaws will spread. My grin will widen. I can taste your fear. Spread the word. Smile, 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 and spread the world, the word.